Natalie Foster joins us, NRA News contributor with the Girls Guide to Guns. Natalie, how are you?
Hey, Cam, it's so good to talk to you. How's life?
Life is good. Now, I was told to ask you where you are today.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm actually down in New Orleans in the deep south here for a couple of months. So I'm exploring new territory, very different from my home in SoCal, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Couple of
It's
months.
it's nice to be in a good gun state for a change.
Yeah, compared to Southern California, absolutely. That must be quite the change for you.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I actually feel a lot more secure.
Well, that's the thing. You know, there's violent crime in Southern California. There's violent crime in Louisiana. But at least in Louisiana, you as an individual are allowed to protect yourself, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, I know that I'm much more comfortable carrying because I know that, the laws here are going to defend me. I'll be much safer here on back end if something is to happen, than I would be in California, unfortunately.
You had a piece at National Review where you talk about firearms and feminism. It's no secret that the number of female gun owners has surged over the past 5 years. And you say it's easy to understand why. So help us out, Natalie, for those who are scratching their head. Why is it women are all of a sudden interested in guns like this? What's going on?
Well, I've talked about it many times. It's very, obviously there's the self-defense piece, but I think it's much bigger than just that. I think it's that we love that sense of camaraderie. For me, it was about, connecting with my family members, specifically my dad, but I found that, I'm able to connect and relate even more with kind of my sisters in arms who enjoy shooting, and we've got this incredible community all over the country, and you've got female gun clubs like A Girl and a Gun and, all sorts of really neat groups popping up. But I think there's also a little glamour to it, which most people won't, be quick to tell you. But I think, you see that aspect of women who are strong and empowered in the movies. And I know that that was an influence for me. It was intriguing because I saw these leading ladies doing it on TV, and I knew it was very different. Reality is very different from the movies, of course, but it did make me, piqued my interest. It made me want to try as well. So I think there are a lot of reasons.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You say that though you learned to shoot only as an adult, you say you can't recall a period in your life in which your family didn't have a gun in the home. I thought it was interesting. This NSSF study that came out about gun ownership trends over the past 5 years, who's become a gun owner, shows that a lot of new gun owners didn't grow up in a home in which there were a lot of firearms. This is something that is relatively new to them. They're
Right.
coming from all over the country. I mean, not only about half of the purchases over the past 5 years have come from people who live in rural areas, about a half have come from people who live in suburban and urban areas. And then as you get even more recent, there's been a huge surge in gun ownership from people who live in the burbs and who live in cities all across this country. It really is interesting. You can't really talk even anymore about. It used to be you couldn't talk about the stereotypical gun owner. Now you can't even really talk about the stereotypical female gun owner, can you?
That's exactly right. I'm so glad you identified that because it really is true. We, defy a race or class or, economic, the strata. We are all over the place, which is, I think, really great. It says something about America, really, right? And that's the point. I mean, the Second Amendment is for every American, and every male or female. It doesn't matter, where you land on the spectrum. It's for you as long as, of course, you're a law-abiding citizen. But I think you're exactly right about that, and I think it's really encouraging because the bottom line is a stronger society is a safer society, and when we have women, when we're encouraging, and I talk in the article about the fact that I've grown up feeling empowered, right? I learned in school about Sally Ride, like women being astronauts, and Jane Goodall in the African jungle, being a scientist and breaking all these amazing boundaries and just really for the good of humanity, right? So, I'm of the generation that grew up thinking that we could do anything. I didn't even know what a glass ceiling was, and I think, you see that more and more. We are really, really lucky to live in a country that really embraces that. And, the Second Amendment is key to that empowerment.
Absolutely. Now, when you talk about the empowering of women, it's really interesting. This has played out, in Colorado, I think, in the Colorado recall elections, where one of the bills that did not get through the legislature was a bill that would have ended campus carry, which was the law in California and had been since 2003. And, Natalie, there were a lot of lawmakers who were set to vote on this ban, and then people like Kimberly Weeks and Amanda Collins showed up, and they started talking about their experiences as victims of sexual assault and how a gun in their hands would have changed the equation.
Right.
And you talk about empowering women. You talk about the power of choice and the right to choose your means of self-defense. That's a really, really powerful argument. And I think, these lawmakers, in some cases, their minds weren't changed, but they were shamed into voting in favor of keeping that concealed carry policy in place.
Right, I know, whatever works, right?
Yep.
I would always prefer to have hearts and minds change, but if that's what it takes for them to, to realize that, taking away women's rights to protect themselves, especially, those women who stood up and who had been victims are just like Amanda Collins. Just incredibly brave, incredibly strong. And they took what happened to them and they decided to make a change. They decided to stand up for what's right, ultimately. And I'm glad. I'm so grateful that now, ultimately, other women on campus will be safe. They will be protected, and women won't have to be victims, and they won't have to die at the hands of these criminals where, they could be using their gun, and they will be able to now because of that law. So that's really, really great.
Absolutely. Listen, Natalie, thank you so much for coming on the program. It's good talking to you again, and enjoy your time in the Crescent City.
Thanks so much. All right, you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Natalie Foster with us, NRA News contributor from Girls Guide to Guns.